This
is
is
Spiritual
Spiritual
Yada
Yada with Ilan Azulay.
and Penelope Jean Hayes.
Hello and welcome to Spiritual Yada. I'm Ilan Azulay.
I'm Penelope Jean Hayes, and this is where we talk about our deep thoughts and everything under the sun from a spiritual lens.
Also under the clouds in a spiritual lens.
And above the sun, too, sometimes. Sometimes we're going to talk about outer space and all that fun
Absolutely.
stuff.
Talking about
Yeah.
space. Oh, there is something we'll talk about this today. How are you, Penelope?
I'm great. I'm really good. Yeah.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Really good to hear. Really good to hear. You know, before we are going to jump into our way of opening the program, where we each start with a word that is a theme or something that came throughout this week, there is something that I wanted to bring up, something that came up in the last few days, something very something, and those are the appearing and disappearing of the monoliths.
Yes.
Right?
Well, yes, I've heard a little bit about this. This is in Utah.
Not just in Utah, in California there are two. There's New Mexico, in
Okay,
Romania.
so I've
There are a
missed a
bunch.
few days then of what's going on in the
Yes.
world. So bring me up to speed. I know the one in Utah was there and then it went missing.
Well, the first one I think was in Arizona. The first one I think was in Arizona. That it just appeared out of nowhere in the middle of there. And then there are two in California, and one of them in California, I forgot which mountain. It was a pine something. It was a trail, and a couple of vandalizers recorded as they're removing one of the monoliths, and it appears to be like, oh, just like a piece of some kind of a metal. And I heard a certain channeling from ETs that are being increasingly coming forward, that are saying that people will try to remove them, but it really won't make sense because they are receptors. There are some kind of receptors that are not activated yet.
So the monoliths themselves are receptors.
Yeah, and
that makes me think of how the obelisks around the world are like an antenna, right? And these were established over our history, over many thousands of years, some probably by ETs as well. And these are kind of tuning beacons that some were erected for religious purposes and others, who knows. But the idea was to tune. And so you're saying that this is what you're hearing. The monoliths have a similar, like a beacon of sorts.
Well, think about like the pyramids, right? The pyramids are the same thing. Pyramids, Stonehenge, all these. Here is another thing, and just to show how much is being hidden from us, where there were, I don't know if it's related, but in September 11th, there was a solar flare, a solar storm, what is called a solar storm from the sun. And those are storms, those are flares of radiation that was supposed really to hit Earth. And I saw a few documentations and a few videos that were talking about discoveries from NASA, that there were a few of alien ships that were standing between Earth and the sun. Now, before September 11th, there were a bunch of observatories here in New Mexico and on Earth that were closed by the FBI, that were seized by the FBI with no warning, with no any kind of explanation, saying it is national security and all that kind of thing.
Right.
But to prevent from people seeing what possibly they could see, especially from the solar flare, the solar observatory in.
So you're saying that this solar flare on September 11th this past year was supposed to hit Earth, and something blocked it, as in protected us? Is that?
So they saw a bunch of alien ships and a big UFO, what they call the UFO structure, or a ship that was standing between Earth and the sun, that supposedly blocked that flare. So we've been talking about, last time the way we met, we talked about packs and about the channeling and everything, but there are many instances where we're talking about where there are channeling of different entities that are talking to the same effect. Kabbalah wisdom is talking about this time as time of revelation. December 21st is the end of the Mayan calendar, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And is also the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. It's a really a very strong shift. We may feel it. I know I
Yes.
felt it. I feel it in all kind of ways, in all kind of
Well,
things.
Earth's vibration, what is it called? Schumann, the Earth's vibration is, and it's 6 times higher right now, or was, I guess, when this was measured a couple of days ago on December 6th, than normal. Yes, 6 times higher. And this is in preparation, maybe some people are saying, for some shift that is going to be happening December 21st.
Yeah, and it is, so this has been really kind of sitting within me and outside of me and around me, and everybody's experiencing it differently, you know, and we may
So what do you make of it? What does, when you say that it sits with you, it has an impact somehow on you. Is it impact of concern? Is it excitement for what's to come? Or is it just sort of feeling something palpable energy-wise? Like, what is it that is sitting with you?
Well, anything spiritually, anything in that context fascinates me.
The metaphysical,
just everything
the
that has to do with
unseen.
that, and not attached to whether, we are going to be evaporated or not evaporated, ascended or not ascended. It's just in its conceptual form is fascinating to me. Always since I was a child, also disasters and also ascensions and revelations. Revelation is one of the words, but also revelations. It was always fascinated me. But at first it starts, it's if I'm not being attuned to it, at first it starts like a daily disturbance. Like, for example, we were supposed to meet earlier today, and we got put, those are the things that are pushing, and it appears like, oh, this is busy, oh, he wants this or she wants that, or they want this, or the dog wants this, and it appears to be like just a regular day that is just being a busy day. But it is more than just a busy day.
You think there's more than that going on.
And that's right. And that's when I realize, so that's when I stop and I realize, and today in today's meditation and prayer that I had, I realize really what is happening. Because it takes this moment to stop and to see really what is going on here. And this is actually when we realize, or when I feel that we realize that something is going on, when we stop to be involved in that which is going on outside of the system.
Yeah, kind of almost like stepping outside of it, your consciousness, and watching it like a movie. You can see the picture of what's happening, but when you're inside of it, you don't really realize what's happening. So it's that moment of mindfulness.
Exactly. Yeah. How would you, do you feel any of that? Does that make sense now? Can you tie it into different things that happened?
Yeah, I don't know what it is tied to, monoliths and solar flares and December 21st. I don't know if I would have put that together. For me, I just actually have a lot of opportunity roads happen to be crossing paths right now. And this is a good thing. So in a very good way. So my husband and I just moved into a new house, which of course, and so we have a lot going on. Yeah, thank you. And we have, a lot of projects, but these, it's fun. It's a dream. It's a wonderful time, but also busy. We've already had visitors come stay with us for Thanksgiving. We have construction going on in the house. We have, Christmas, the holiday season's just around the corner, and there's more plans for that. And we still have to decorate. We still have to put up our Christmas tree. And simultaneously, I have a lot of work projects. I have the Viral Energy Institute and all the programs going on with that, and teachers and coaches through the Institute that they have different programs that need, something from me. So for me, it's so much going on, but all good stuff. And my lesson that I have learned for myself lately is compartmentalization.
Mm.
So I literally thought I was going to lose it with just too much to do, too much going on, too many commitments. And when I realized that, okay, I'm going to have to, put these things on a Monday, these things on a Tuesday, and just kind of stick to that. And that's the only way I can get through it right now. So to kind of compartmentalize each thing is the only way to get it all done. And I do feel like I need a break. I mean, I do feel like I just have to take one day that I'm not doing anything. And I haven't had that in a while, like a month without weekends. Like, it's been a really, really busy time. So I've done it to myself. I've taken on too much. And now, as we are getting into the holiday season, I need to set a new pace for the new year.
But
Get
aren't
things,
you
get things.
usually taking on yourself a lot?
Yeah. Yeah. Need to do different in 20. No, it's interesting with 2020, we all thought that we would be slowing down. And because of the virus, there was this, idea, and a lot of people really embracing the idea as well of a forced break. And that actually ties into one of my topics. So a forced break for a lot of people. And then a lot of people that I talk to with, myself as well, feel the exact opposite. It's been a time of, there has been so much pivoting and so much learning new things. And so for my situation, I took the Viral Energy Institute online this year. It was something I had wanted to do for a long time. I've been running courses for 10 years, doing retreats. And by the way, you're going to come to where I live and we're going to do an in-person retreat when the world opens back up.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. So that's the kind of stuff I've been loving and working on. But then in 2020 with the virus, everything, online, no more in person for a while, even in-person coaching. We can't do that right now. And so it has been, instead of downtime for many, many of us working from home, it's been a time of learning new things and learning how to do seminars online and learning how to I did a Zoom actually. I think I mentioned to you, I did a Zoom leadership class a couple of days ago that was actually organized out of Israel. And they they had thousands of people all over the world. And it was really neat. You see people in, different countries in Africa and all over the world, and everybody's learning how to do this Zoom conferencing. It's pretty amazing actually. And I felt very verklempt with emotion and joy and gratitude that people from all over the world are able to connect. And so I think there's just so many positives that we really have to look at the positives. But back to your point, yeah, I'm always busy, but now it's more busy because it's learning new things and wanting to provide, what I do in a form that people can access it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this workshop that you did in Israel, that probably opened a lot of doors actually to continue things in a virtual format.
Oh, this is it. Exactly.
This is it. And I don't think it's going to go back. We talked about
it will never go back. You're absolutely right. We've had a quantum leap in not the technology. I think it's been there. In a lot of cases, they've gotten so much better. Oh my goodness. They had this neat thing. They had thousands of people come together. And then after they did an introduction and the organizers sort of said a few words, they sent different groups who had signed up for different seminars. So there was 5 leaders. I was one of 5 leaders. They sent the people who had signed up to their own, virtual room to listen to each one of those speakers.
Yeah.
Now, this may not be new for a lot of people listening, but I was like, wow, this is just
cool. This is actually
so cool. It's like being, in Vegas at a conference. I mean, it's really, I do miss the in-person though, but we have to embrace what we have. And I don't think it's going back. And I think that will be a good thing.
Absolutely. This is bringing into, this is, for an example, you asked last time, we talked about, I mentioned, I don't think we talked too much about this, but technology. Let's take technology, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will look at technology and will be intimidated by that. Right?
Yes.
You'll talk to them about technology. You will talk to them and they'll say, no, you know what? I can't handle that. I can't handle this. Technology is beyond me and I cannot handle it. And they go all verklempt, right? They go verklempt. The problem is not the technology, obviously, right? The problem is not the technology. And I don't know if it's a problem, but the issue is not the technology. The issue is the relationship between the person and the technology. And so on the same way, I want to bring it to here is things that we know, the difference or the contrast between what we know that needs, let's say, to be done, and to what we're actually doing.
Okay, the contrast between what we
What we
know
know
needs to
needs
be
to be done,
done
for example,
and what
and
we're
what
doing.
we are actually doing. So we know, for example, let's say we know this. We need to, with the technology, we need to. I'm just taking myself an example, although I'm technology very excited about it, but. We need to do something to get something up and going, but yet I'm not doing it, or I create this barrier, this fear between me and the technology. So it is a relationship issue. It's always a relationship. It's a relationship issue. It is my relationship between me and the matter. And we can apply it to everything. We can apply it to what I need, what I know needs to be done. For example, whether it is work, whether it is fixing certain kind of a communication matter that I have with somebody, I know that that needs to be done, but I have a relationship issue. My ego, for example, won't allow me to do that. So it is not the matter itself, it is my relation to the matter. Same thing goes with money. People that have issues with money, and issues with money means they either don't have money or don't like to deal with money, or say, no, I'm doing it not because of the money. So it's kind of giving them an excuse not to be in full
Right,
throttle to make money. Or
right.
people that have more money than they can count, and they're dealing with whatever they have with it. So it is not the money. It is the money is an
It's the
item.
relationship with money and
It's
what
my
it means, what it means to them.
what it means to them. That's the relationship. So it is the relationship, and that relationship comes from our experiences, from our traumas, from our past, from our how we experience. And this goes in every
Yeah.
aspect. So this is something that, for example, when I talk about or when I work with people, it is always about the relationship, because people many times would put the weight of what needs to be worked on that matter, on technology.
So let me throw out another angle to this and see what you think about it. So when I look at technology and people that don't want to have difficulties learning the new technology, I think of my parents. So
Mhm.
in their case, they just didn't want to expand anymore their knowledge base. And I mean, this is nothing I couldn't say to them. So at some point, at 1 year in their life, a long time ago, long time ago, they decided that's it. I'm not learning anything more. Right.
Okay.
So that, the advent of technology in their life was something that maybe the idea was, well, this isn't going to last. How far do we really have to go down this path of technology? My father owned and ran his own business. He had a secretary do the typing, so he didn't have to learn computers, that sort of thing. And then technology got away on him,
Mhm.
and it advanced so much faster. And he had chosen, I'm going to focus on this. This is what I need to do. I can't also learn all of these things, and he's an
Yeah.
example. But I don't blame people. It's difficult because whatever it is you do, whether you make widgets, or you're a banker, or whatever your job is, to learn technology is now something that every single occupation needs to do. And so it's adding a lot of, and it's so much easier for young people because they're so flexible, and
Mhm.
that they have grown with technology. At some point, maybe
Mhm.
they will fall behind because technology is just moving so fast. So I do think there's this aspect of an individual saying, I'm not going to learn anymore. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop at this new thing. I just don't have the
Yeah.
capacity or
Yeah.
the will
Yeah.
to to expand more.
Yeah. And I don't think it has to do necessarily with generation. You know what? At first I thought it had to do with the generational gap, a generation that was physical, hardcore, build a country. Like with the generation of today, you cannot build a country. You know, you can ruin it, but you can. I don't think you can build it because that generation was it was like single-minded. It was like linear. It's like almost everything had to be linear. So I finish this, perfect, and
Yes.
then do
Yes.
something else. Like how many times maybe you heard it? Why don't you perfect in one thing? I remember when I was wanted to learn
Right. That
guitar,
right.
they told me,
Yes.
well, first learn
A really
classical guitar.
valued skill, right? To be really good at one thing. Yes.
Exactly. So it is more associated with an older generation, but I don't think also because I know today people in my here today that that just want to stay in one thing, in one topic, in one profession, and it comes from several things. I think it comes from those who want to excel in one thing and dedicate their entire existence to just one thing so they can fully shine and fully come into that place. And then within that, let's say somebody who is playing a guitar, right, that they just only do that all day long, and they have their own understanding and their
Well,
own thing that comes through the playing of the guitar, but they want to stay that. And then there are, I don't think it has to do necessarily with generation, although it is more associated with our
you could be
parents.
more prevalent in certain groups. So the reference I'm making is the idea of expansion versus retraction. So sometimes, and I guess you don't have to associate that with age, but it might be more prevalent that it
Mhm.
comes with age for a lot of people.
Yeah,
You know, they downsize their house. They're downsizing now. So you expand, you expand, you expand. You get to the
exactly,
tipping point, and now you start to retract your life in some
exactly,
ways because
exactly.
the focus, maybe the focus, it does become more spiritual as we get older, and spiritual being a broad term
Hmm.
that's different things for different
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
It's an inward focus, perhaps the outward things, and in this case, technology. It's like, you know what? I only have so much brain power and energy and time left. Let's focus on these other things. So it's a retraction, but not in a negative way, a sort of introspection, a going inside, maybe this cocooning that
Mhm. Yeah.
getting ready for the end of life butterfly. Boy, we're getting deep today.
Oh boy.
And
But
we
but there are
haven't
two
even,
things. But there are two
yes,
things. You're bringing two things. You're bringing a physical, a materialistic aspect, which is you expand, you expand, you expand, and as you go, I know for myself, as
and
you go,
knowledge, wisdom and knowledge, or knowledge,
yeah. But there are two
learning.
things. Is that's exactly the point I want to talk about. The knowledge and the learning. The wisdom and the knowledge is not materialistic.
No, no, of course not. And
So you
nor do they
expand.
stop
Oh, you're talking
expanding in,
expansion from here, expansion.
well, let's
That
draw a difference between wisdom and knowledge.
well,
Wisdom
yeah.
is something that's ever growing, and then you teach. So when you have that wisdom, then you can teach others. And knowledge in this context would be, maybe the school type learning, the learning of new technology. So if you could look at those as two separate categories, I think that a lot of people who are repelled by technology or fearful of the new technology comes down to a choice too. And that's my word today, by the way,
Hmm.
choice.
Choice.
And that
Okay.
in that choice, in this case, would be a very deliberate choice to say that I only have so much time and energy and myself to give to the world, and I'm going to focus on these other things and not this. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, that's great. The choice, the choice. You see, choice. Knowledge is acquired. That's how I see that. Knowledge is acquired. Wisdom
yes,
is a derivative of spiritual growth and a symbiosis.
I would
Is that
agree.
symbiosis of
Yes.
noetic sense and understanding, and understanding. So it
Yeah, you
is
could say
more
it's more earned.
earned.
Wisdom
Exactly.
is, wisdom
Exactly.
is something you can't read in a book. Maybe it's through life experience,
Exactly. Or
walking the
spiritual
walk.
download or whatever, but it is.
Yes, tapping into universal consciousness.
Yes, yes. So that's more wisdom, And choice, that's interesting. My word for today was procrastination. One of
Oh,
the words at
wow.
least. Yeah. Because that
Wow.
ties into what I talked in the beginning, what the difference between what you need, you need to get done, let's say, or what needs to happen, or what
Right.
requires of you to show up and show up and bring, and the difference between that and what actually is happening. And procrastination is one of the things. So when you come to a choice, it's also interesting where a choice is coming from. Where do we make a choice from? In the videos that I'm talking on Friday, some of the other videos,
Mm-hmm.
the choices that we make are really a derivative of the places that we're at, or the places we're inhabiting within us.
Or could you say that the places that you are at are a derivative of your choices? You are where you are because of a series of choices.
Yeah. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, exactly. Good point. So let me lay out. Do you want to start with choice or
Let's
procrastination? We
start
can
with choice.
procrastinate with procrastination. We'll leave procrastination. We'll procrastination
On the
until
choices.
there's almost no time, because right now we've already,
We're no,
you look at.
we're like half an hour.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll procrastination. Let's talk about choice.
Choice.
And so let me just lay out the context in which I would
Sure.
love your input on this conversation about choice. So I have heard many times and also have taught myself the concept of everything is a choice. And so when clients come to me, I actually am thinking of one in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Clients come to me with, this is what's going on in my life, and maybe their life's a mess. I have this one female client going through a divorce, and I know that you do a lot of work with
Mm-hmm.
women going through divorce. So this will
Yeah.
be helpful to get your input together with how I'm laying this
Interesting.
out. So, I've told her that everything is a choice and that you got to this place through a series of your choices. And so you can get to that place, that place of your dreams, that place you really want to be, also through a series of choices. And that you can start today making different choices. So this is a very tangible, a specific, life and these choices that come out every day in a person's life. But let's extrapolate this idea of everything as a choice to the idea of health and wellness and death. I've also spoken to, the context of this, but I've spoken to a spirit messenger who I'm talking about, who has also affirmed and confirmed that everything is a choice,
Mm-hmm.
and including sickness and including death. So I wanted to pose that to you, hear what you have to say about that. And then I want to break it down. If we are saying, if it is true that everything is a choice, then how is it that sickness is a choice? And I do have some examples of people that I know. Let me just toss it to you right now, and then we'll get back to.
Well, when I start working, the first thing that I always say is that we need to understand that everything that happens here, everything that is on the physical realm, everything that happens in what we see in our physical eyes has a spiritual reason and cause. Sicknesses, especially, for example, things like cancer, there are spiritual, it's like a spiritual rape. Okay. It's like a spiritual, um, um, there's no other word, because what is happening, we have a spiritual wound, and the spiritual wound can be in a form of abuse, self-abuse that comes from a karmic family connection, or come from our own way of looking at ourselves, judgment. I personally, and
Guilt.
we're talking about this, what we're talking about, I have a similar person, a similar client that has been going through um, tremendous hard times, because she's very judgmental towards herself and towards
Mm-hmm.
everybody around her, and the
Mm-hmm.
demanding of certain ways to be in a certain perfection, and that is coming, in her case and in many other cases, which I'm willing to say that it
Mm-hmm.
comes from fear. And it comes from
Certainly.
fear, from the fear of losing that which we are sure we know. That we are so absolutely sure we know. What will happen if somebody who is religious, super religious, you come to them and you say, you know, what you believe in, and you actually may show it to them. What you believe in is really farce. It's really not true. Here, let me show you why. Right? I'm
No,
just giving
that's
you an example.
inconceivable. Yeah, I know, I
It's
know. And for many
inconceivable.
people, it's not even, they won't even
Exactly.
allow themselves to explore
Exactly.
because now, as you're saying, the foundation would be gone and this isn't an
Exactly.
option. This is not an
Exactly.
option.
So think about somebody
Right.
who's going through a divorce. Somebody maybe who has been with that person for 30 years or for 20 something years. They're their college sweetheart, right? And they've been only with that person. And they don't know anything else. And that person was their mother, their father, their sister, their friend, their everything. They don't know anything else, anybody else. And now you're going to take it under their feet. You know, there is here an existential fear, a fear that they cannot even fathom, they cannot even understand, they cannot even start conceptualizing such a possibility. So first of all, it starts
Mhm.
from a very deep place that is starting to create that fear. And for example, cancer is a mutation that the body cannot hold neither spiritually or physically. And everything that happens spiritually affects physically. In the Kabbalah, it says, "Nefesh bria beguf bari." A healthy spirit gives you a healthy body, and a healthy body lives in a
Mhm.
healthy spirit. So it is. It is.
Absolutely.
It is. They have to. The spirit is the driver. This is the car. The body is the car. The soul is the driver. So we are like a
Mhm.
driver in a car.
And the
So
spiritual wounds just show up on the body. I
they
mean,
just,
I can
yeah,
look at one of my clients, and if they're suffering from certain things, maybe chronic cough, some lung issue, I think of the heart chakra, the heart,
or
lungs.
throat.
Sure. Well,
Yeah,
throat, yes, that's a
yeah,
different chakra. And now it's the inability to express themselves. So,
exactly.
different things for different people, but to
Yeah.
instantly be able to diagnose their spiritual root of the cause by what shows up on the body as a symptom of something going on spiritually, is what you're saying. Of course, we have to give the caveat that with cancer, there's also environmental
For sure, for sure.
there's
But
environmental impacts as well that can't be overlooked. But when you have a
mm,
strong spirit, you also have that immune system that can protect from a lot of those things as well. So a strong spiritual base. But this example that you're giving of this client that you're giving this example of also makes me think of identity. And my client has a
mhm,
struggle with identity as well.
exactly.
So while everything is a choice, that she has set her life up this way by a series of her choices. In addition to that, her concept of losing this husband, who's a cheating husband, he's cheated on her multiple times, including while she was pregnant. It's just a terrible situation. And yet she is struggling with the idea of not being a wife, the identity of who will she be,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
unknown,
Yeah,
but also what that means about who she is, the
that's
identity
right.
of that.
That's right. Yeah. So this is, for example, also a classical example. For example, when you have a computer crash, right? You have a computer crash. Microsoft Word quit on you, and you're saying, "Oh, damn Microsoft." Well, that's a side of the point. But you said that Microsoft. But what the problem is not really Microsoft. It's something else that you put to other things that you put that created a conflict that manifested on that application. But the problem is not that application. The problem
Exactly.
is something else in the system that was
Yes.
put there ahead of time that created that conflict. And this is where it goes with the identity issue,
The
because
insertion of a subluxation, a block.
exactly. For example, I'm not Microsoft. What happened? Exactly. So let's take that aside. So it is not, many times what appears to be the problem is not the problem.
Yeah, what's been building up?
It's building up. And so that goes also to the communication, what her way is with communication, what her way is with hiding. I would look at hiding.
Well, hiding in terms of not speaking her truth in this
Exactly.
case. So
Exactly.
to not know, to not insist on being treated the way she wanted to be treated. And the way you do that is you don't accept it. You walk away. And this is something that would be done early on, in dating. So in her case, the mistreatment had happened over steps where he was
Exactly.
testing, do a little fishing lure testing what her reaction was. And when she never just told him, like, I mean, it's got to be a breakup sometimes, right? It's not just like another chance or sometimes the way to tell someone how to treat you is to just not accept it. And
Yes, but
they either get in line and
Mhm.
there's still, perhaps a good companion for you, or they're
Yeah.
not. And a lot of times they're not. And people are not willing to accept the idea that maybe this isn't the right companion for you.
That's true. That is true. And just to walk away is, while it is a choice, it is not always a viable option, because the reason they are with that person is because they feel, and you know what is funny? I talked about it last week. They feel 80% of what they want. Okay. They feel
Okay.
80% or
Right.
70% of what they want, or 60%. And there's a 30-40% that they're really not happy with. And what is happening, so they don't walk away to preserve that 60%, because at that time they say, no, I'm willing to keep that 60% alive because it is more important than a 30%.
It's a trade-off.
The
Yeah.
trade-off. What
Or being
happens,
alone. Maybe all
well,
they're
that's
getting
that's
is
that's part
not
of,
being alone.
well, here, I give you an example. I mean, not just to give you an example, somebody who hasn't been ever alone and always in a relationship, you know.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
something that can be scary. So that is the 30-40%, because they've never been alone, so they don't know how it feels to be alone. So it
Or they
becomes
don't want to be alone with themselves.
yeah, alone usually it's them. Yeah. So that becomes the 30%. Because they don't know how viable that can be, and that can be by its own 100% or 90%. So they don't want to let go of that 60-70%, and then these other percentages that they haven't been paying attention to start growing and growing. And at first, when he was telling her, for example, I don't know if that is true in your case, but if at first he was telling her, he was calling her nicknames that were kind of derogatory. I don't like kind of jokes between people and couple, like when there are pranks between couples. I
Hmm.
don't like that,
Yeah,
because
Shakespeare said
that's,
all truth and just.
I'm sorry.
That Shakespeare said all truth and just. So the just being like the jocular, the joke, that when people make a backhanded comment,
Hmm.
that there's truth behind it. They're just like,
Exactly.
oh, I was just joking. Well, were
No,
you
it's not.
really just joking?
No, 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 no.
Were
There's
you
always,
really? Or were
yeah.
you trying to send a message?
That's right, and they may feel ashamed, so they take it back, but it's sitting there because it was there.
Yeah,
So I
passive
don't like
aggressive.
these jokes and pranks between couples, and is calling somebody, oh, you little cutesy pootsy, luchi mutsi, whatever kind of thing that they call them, because then they turn out to be, when something goes wrong or something is not right, what happens? They call them cutesy mutsi putsi lutsi, right? That's what they become. And then so it grows. And so it is not just, while it is just, oh, why don't you walk away, you made a choice. It is to understand where the choices were made from the places that she made, even to the time of the dating. And I don't think that it
Mhm.
is too late to go all the way to understand the choices that you made, where you were. And the most important thing is when you look at that, we have the tendency to judge ourselves with the eyes of today, what we did 20 years ago. It is
Mhm.
important to look what we did 20 years ago with the eyes of 20 years ago, and to see that we've grown, and to see, okay, nothing is static, everything is dynamic. Let's see how we're shifting. And today it is not working for me. So I want to make a different choice, because by nature as humans, we're fickle, and I want to make a choice. And we are a couple, we've been together. So we should be able to be dynamic and fluid and not static. And if it doesn't work for me today because I grew and you did not stay with me, or we did not stay together,
Stagnated.
we did
Mhm.
not stay together on the same energetic level, it happens that one person goes up and one person goes down spiritually, energetically. You're not on the same vibrational level. And if you're not on
Yes.
the same, because sounds like she came to a place, your client, she came to a place where she's ready to transform. It's just very painful, and she doesn't know which end of the string to hold.
Well, I like to say in my viral energy work that water will always seek its own level. So think about water that's being held back by a dam. It
Mm-hmm.
wants nothing more than to just reunite with its other half,
Mm-hmm.
to be at that same level. And that we are, what is it, 96% water. So this is a truth that holds throughout life, that same vibration wants to seek same vibration. And when there's
Mm-hmm.
something that is not on level, it will force and it will push, and things just won't seem to be going
Exactly.
smoothly. There'll be such like magnets
Clash.
going the
Yeah.
wrong way until that is rectified and that you find your own level. So
Yeah.
that's one way of looking at it as well, that in terms of what you're saying, that people
Yeah.
can grow apart, but that you either grow together, you either raise each other up in a spiritual way and grow in, evolve spiritually in the same direction. But if one's stagnating or goes in another direction, then
So here's a
you're not
choice.
on
Here's
level.
another choice from here. Okay. If you're staying committed, right? Because that goes now to commitment. Commitment is a choice, right?
It sure is.
So
An intention too. I want to get
yeah, I
back to
mean,
that in a minute.
hopefully it's intentionalized choice. Hopefully it's an intentionalized choice. But commitment is a choice. When do you get up and say, so your partner is going astray, right? Are you going to just get up and leave, or are you going to see through, because you know that he's going through such a hard time and such a breaking, maybe he goes, and I'm just thinking about my place, right, automatically, but I'm thinking about what your client is saying, because, and I don't know how many times this happened with your client, that she realized that she wants to separate or to go through this divorce. But I know that sometimes some people will say the first dam that breaks, they just want to get up and kill the party, and they just want to go out. And some of them, they say, you know what? No, I realize that he's going through a hard time. He was there for me, helping me grow throughout all these pains and everything. And you know what? This is what we do. It's like going up a stairwell. The right foot sometimes pulls the left foot, and the left foot sometimes pulls the right foot.
But
So
don't
it
you think
is.
there are some things that are just unforgivable? So you asked me what
Yeah,
I would do. And if you're asking specifically about me,
yeah.
I would not stay with someone who cheated on me.
Well,
That's
it
a done
depends.
thing.
It
To
depends
me,
on
that's the, yep.
communication, on what kind of a relationship you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your husband is a polyamorous, and he never came to that place of recognizing it within himself, and living by it, and he comes with somebody like you who is a monogamist, and you don't discuss this ever, and for you it will look like cheating, for him it will look something
Well, he
completely
can also
different.
look like a single guy and he can go do his life. He can live elsewhere. It's not that that person ceases to exist in this world. They can go live their merry life however they choose to live it, but just not with me.
No, I
So,
understand that. I get
yeah,
that.
that's
But you're
yeah, that's
bringing here,
that's
you're bringing here a
boundaries.
charged issue. I can feel a charge here. You're bringing here a charged issue. What I'm saying is, it is all fine. This is the relationship that you have to polyamory. Okay. For example, it's something like monogamy is something, polyamory is something, whatever, all these kind of relationships. Okay. So it is a certain kind, is not going to live it with me. It's not, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, it is the coming together of the minds, or of the hearts, or of the body parts, or whatever that is, that you say, okay, let's talk about this. This fits me. This doesn't fit me. Oh, okay. No, 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 nothing happened. Maybe things shifted over time, but it's where the communication is. If there is not a communication, you cannot make a choice that is a valid choice, I
And
think.
so this is about monogamy. So wouldn't marriage be in almost every case what that conversation is? Like, isn't there something foundational about marriage that would already be part of the communication of what that term is? That this is what we don't do, unless that's discussed
Well, there are many cultures that is completely different. What is
Well,
marriage?
but it would be known,
You're taking
yeah, it would
marriage
be,
down to a cultural definition.
yes. Well, those are specific examples, but
Yeah.
just your average person, the average client that comes to you and I,
Western
and
society, for
Western
the most,
society,
for a large part of it.
there are certain,
Yeah.
expectations in a relationship that are okay to have. So basically, what I'm saying is for all of the women listening and men too, that if that is your boundary, which it would be for a lot of people, it is okay to say, that's my drop dead. That issue is not something that I budge on. And that would be okay because personal boundaries are missing to a great extent. In particular, I see with women, I'm sure it is with men too, but I see a lot of women who, for some reason, think that they're not allowed to say that, or that we have to always talk it out. We have to work it out. We have to go to counseling. But it's also okay to give yourself permission to say that there's a few things that I've asked for, very few things that are like a drop dead issue for me. And if that is one of them, and I'm going to tell you what, every woman who's ever come to me, when they're being honest and they're just one on one, women don't accept that on any level. And so, when people are being honest, and I think that's what I'm encouraging, just be honest with whatever that is for
Whatever
you,
you're choosing,
whatever you choose.
wherever the choice is coming from.
Stick to your
Absolutely.
choices,
Absolutely.
defend your choices, live by those decisions and choices, and have your partner, have expectations for those people in your life, because even marriage is a choice every day. You choose that every single day. You re-choose it. It's not like a son or a daughter where you can't, that is your child. This isn't, the choice was already made.
Yeah.
With a spouse, you make that choice every day. It's not
Every
something
single day.
that,
That's right.
in my opinion, it's not necessarily, it may be death to you part. It's also cheat on me, you can part too, whatever that is for you. So just to allow people to, women in particular, to be able to say that there are certain things that I draw the line in the sand.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that you're putting here that there is here a stronger weight on the cheating or the aspect of cheating. Like for example, cheating is referred to, for the most part, and I think that's the only time I heard about cheating, is when it refers to infidelity. That is the only time that it is referred to as cheating. Like, for example, if he told her that he's going here, but he actually went there, oh, he didn't cheat on me, he lied to me, right? So there is a different charge here. There is a different.
That's a trust issue.
But cheating is trust issue too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It is a trust issue. I mean, I think that you could be cheating without having sex.
Can you cheat without having sex?
Yes, in my opinion.
How so?
You can have a full-out relationship with somebody who lives in another state and not necessarily be having sex with them, but it's an emotional relationship. You would want to, you think of that person in that way. You're connected to them in that way.
Is there cheating where there is internet porn? Do you think it's cheating? Why so?
No, but here's the example. That's now getting into a blurry.
You're talking about
that's a blurry
choices.
area.
You're talking about the choice. You're talking about the choice.
Okay.
You're talking about the choice and relationship. And it is
I don't think that's cheating. That would be.
You see, I have clients that think that this is cheating. So you see.
Oh, well, to each their own. I mean, if it is for them.
But here's the thing.
Who are we to say it's not? I mean, that's.
But here's the thing, you see, just like you're referring to a guy that is cheating on his wife with having sex with somebody else, you have cultures and you have people that are not seeing it as such because they are having a different kind of relationships. What I'm saying is that first of all, to strengthen what you're saying.
Do they both agree to that different kind of relationship? But do they both agree to that different kind of relationship?
That is the point. Absolutely. Yeah. That is the point.
Well, then it's
fine. But here's the thing. It is, first of all, to strengthen what you said. It is to be clear. And you don't need to defend, because I don't think when you need to defend, you are a soldier and you are not a warrior. A warrior doesn't need to defend. A warrior just stands where they are. But it is to be clear about where your choices are coming from. And communication, I think, is a key in every aspect of our relationships, because that is how we are able to also make choices without fear of judgment, without fear of what would the other person say. Maybe the other person is ashamed. Maybe the other person grew up and maybe they have something, let's say a woman, she has something to a girlfriend, right? Or other women, but she's ashamed to say that. Because if she will say that, it will consider cheating. Her husband will look at her this and that and that. So there is here shame, because everything eventually boils down to the lowest energy of the energy table, which is shame. Everything goes there. So there is here a shame. And then from the shame, you are starting to create choices. You're starting to create relationships. And so I think everything is dynamic. When you come to relationships with a person, everything is fluid and dynamic. And what is important is the communication and really what is caring for the other person. When you say you love somebody, what do you love in that person? Because if you love that person and you love all that they are reflecting and projecting, then what they are going through is also part of their growth and part of their evolution. And it affects and it contributes to your evolution. So for me personally, to say somebody that is, I'm strict and solid, and if you do that, but that's my thing, because everything is fluid in relationships. Communication and the trust and being in a place where you can say to your partner everything. And if there is pain, there is pain, because like the song says, darling, I never promised you a garden of roses, but I did promise you some pain, because there is this communication. I don't know what song that is, but whatever.
I think it must be a country song.
Something like that.
It must be.
There is a song, I forgot his name, but it's a happy birthday, darling. And he says, I didn't bring you anything this birthday, but I sure am going to take some things away. I want to take away the mistrust, and I want to take away the pain, and I want to take away the insecurities, and I want to take away all those so kisses, and to give you
only country songs are that honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know. So well, should we get on to procrastination? Well, we have a couple minutes left.
Let's do that.
Procrastinating any further.
Let's bring the procrastination into a movement. Okay.
Yes.
Procrastination. It happens. I feel, it is what I talked in the beginning. It is sometimes it's in the contrast of what I know needs to be done and what I'm actually doing. And it happened to me several times in the past few years after a breakup that was 5-6 years ago, a serious relationship that the effect of it and the effect prior to it was a long periods of procrastination. And procrastination meaning, I know that this is what needs to be done. I get excited in what I want to do. I know I want to do that. I know I have to do yes, I'll do this, and I'll do that, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. But it's all happening here.
So in the relationship procrastinating or procrastinating with projects?
Well, procrastination with projects, but I think that is effect with the relationship with self. That's, I think, why, and that's what I wanted to bring it to.
Okay.
Where I think that procrastination on a practical level, that leads many times to use of substances or this kind of thing, because many times procrastination would lead to these kind of things. It comes from a relationship with self. And this
Give me more of a specific example of the type of procrastination as it relates to relationships.
Well, as it relates to relationships, I was talking about
make up something, but okay.
I was talking about relationship with myself. For example, I know from that period of time when I wasn't in the making, when I wasn't in the doing, when I wasn't in the producing side, it would be because I would feel I can relate somewhere to where your client is. Okay, in a different story where the what I knew as I knew it was snatched from underneath my feet, and much of it was because of my fugue ups, um, and and so so what happened is there was a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty in my own strength, not recognizing my own gifts, not recognizing and not seeing my own gifts. And that creates a procrastination. That creates of, oh, I should do this, but no, maybe I should wait until I feel better. And in the procrastination mode, there is always, I'm going to feel, once I feel better, I'll do this. Once I feel better, I'll do that. But today I want to stay in bed, or today I want to smoke another joint. And when I feel better, I will do that. And there is, in Judaism and in Kabbalah, there is a very interesting concept. It's just like also in film, actually, in filmmaking, and I remember that doing it in film, is sometimes to start from the end.
Yeah.
Is to start from the end that brings you to the beginning. And in this case, it is actually to do something. And also if it is washing dishes, also if it is doing the laundry, also if it's walking the dog or walking yourself like a dog outside, or something that is creating a movement in the body, in the physical, that will create a jolt in the spiritual.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm seeing, and I think that that is a great piece of advice right there. Kind of get your engine going.
Yeah.
So if you can't do those larger projects for whatever's keeping you, and it usually is emotional, psychological, that's keeping you from the bigger projects, and that could be, for every person, there's a different
Absolutely.
reason why. So that
Absolutely.
reason could be, fear of failure, is one reason why people procrastinate with projects. Fear of success.
For success.
Will I now outgrow this relationship? Will my whole life change? If I end up doing this dream, this goal, who will I become as a person? And therefore, will my whole life and existence, change? Or will I become too busy? And maybe if it's someone who's a musician, do I really want to live a life on the road in a tour bus? These things play on the back of our mind that for some people, this is all it takes to allow them to procrastinate, to somehow give themselves an excuse. And a lot of times those physical ailments do come up because they're built-in excuses. And it goes back to the conversation that I was alluding to regarding choice, that even sicknesses can be a choice a lot of times. And it's okay, because sometimes we need a break, and we may not be able to vocalize that we need a break. And so instead we manufacture disease and sickness, and they're real things. They do manifest in actual sickness. It's not just a hypochondria that you think you're sick, but you become sick, you make yourself sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that to, look at, if you could have just spoke your truth. Maybe truth is the topic today, because it seems to be something underlying the idea of speaking your truth, whatever that is. So to tell the person, like, I can't do that project, I can't take on that new job, I can't, whatever it is. So instead of getting sick, tell the truth to yourself and to other people.
Well, truth could, if you're in that place, of downer or downing, truth is becoming relative and not becoming absolute, because your truth is relation to where you are at.
It's always relative. Everything is relative.
Well,
there are no absolutes. Not even math is an absolute.
Well, there is, for example, when you receive channeling, that's truth. So that's an absolute truth that is not coming from you or is not coming from me.
It still goes through the channel. It goes through a filter, which is the channel. That's the person who's downloading the information, and they're downloading through their own consciousness. So the channeler's consciousness now adds a factor to that purity of information.
I'll give you an example. I had a few clients where I would feel, and the way that I work many times with clients is through channeling, and channeling is the feeling. So I would feel when a person, for example, and it happened to me a couple of times, where she was pregnant, right?
Did she know she was?
She didn't know.
Oh, okay.
She didn't know, right? So there are certain absolute truths where I knew that, and she came to me for a session, and I said, you shouldn't drink that because, and she laughed, right? And And then I think for a few days later, she called me back with a test, right? So there are certain things that are absolute truth, like the sun rising, this kind of thing.
Well, okay.
But I'm talking about also in relation
But
in
the
relation
sun
to us.
rising is relative to where you are as well. If does it rise, in what time zone for you? So even
Okay,
that,
well, I mean,
in a
I get
way.
you. I get you. We can all on that kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a philosophical.
But I don't think that today's. I feel that if we say just truth today, I think we need to bring it down, and this will be also in the topics of when I do the edits and we put it up. It's really breaking down the little topics that we talked about, because truth is, everybody can relate to truth, but some people can exactly. Some people can relate to.
It's your angel bell.
It's
No,
always
maybe what I'm trying to say is
yeah.
be true to yourself. How about that? To
Yes.
speak your truth,
Yes.
whatever that is for you.
Yes, it is, and many times it is easier said than done. It's just an encouragement, and it is very important. If you're listening and you're in a situation where you're not even sure that you are ready to speak your truth, and then you start questioning yourself, the most important thing in these situations first is to find a good soil, a good environment, a good people that really care for you,
I
people that
agree.
really care for your well-being, because only these people, it's just like it says, do not ever tell your dreams to somebody who you don't know, because dreams are interpretations and words are creations. So find the soil and the environment that is good for you, that can support you and give you the Kabbalah, the place, the instrument to be able to express yourself. And this,
So I'm going to just expand on that really quickly with a little story for our listeners, and then maybe you could do a nice short meditation to take us out of today's episode. So I just want to add to what you're saying, that there is a concept, the vacuum effect. And so that if you're taking something out of your life that is significant, it could be that you're going through a divorce and now you're going to be creating a void where there was a husband or a whole life and, relationship there. Creating that void is often the scary part. But as you said, to really watch what environment you are in, to be mindful to place yourself in a healthy and fertile ground before creating that void, because what happens is into that void space sucks everything that's around, that's in the immediate vicinity. All of the other stuff will suck into that void, and that's just what happens. So do you want to suck in good stuff, or are you going to replace that job that you don't like, that relationship that's not working? Are you going to replace it with another one just like it? There's a little story of feral cats, and this is something that's a true study that they did, that feral cat populations, if you remove the entire colony, what happens? A new colony comes in its place. You could take those 50 cats and remove them, bring them to, an adoption shelter, and in the environment more cats will come. It's actually something that they studied. It's called the vacuum effect, or you could I call it the void fill effect. So be very mindful of what you are surrounding yourself with, and that's your friends, your family, the environment of your office space, the physical environment, the energetic environment, and the emotional environment. So set yourself up for bringing in something fresh, bringing in the thing that you really want, and not more of the same.
Exactly.
Now, iLan will give us a beautiful meditation.
Because if we keep bringing in the same thing of the same thing, we're not creating anything. We're not creating anything different. The result will be the same result. The outcome will be the same outcome, and it'll just be the same, all of the same. So, with that, if you're here, let's just close your eyes for a few minutes. Meditation is not a half an hour necessary or sitting on a bed. It is just closing your eyes for a few minutes. Enough time to be able to Listen to your breaths. Quietly enough that you can even listen to your blood flow. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, keeping the temperature of your body inside. And every breath that you take, you're still aware of the voice that comes out from the computer or from the radio. Every sound that you hear is taking you in deep. And every breath that every inhale that you take in, you can imagine this pink ball of energy that is right in front of you, the masculine and the feminine. Every inhale, you inhale from that energy ball, and you can travel. Imagine you're traveling with that energy through your nostrils, down your throat, to your shoulders, to your elbows, hands, throughout your body. Every inhale is filling your body, your chest, your belly with that pink energy, and that energy swirls around each muscle and around each part of your body, releases any tension, and intentionalize on releasing that tension. It's been here, but you don't need that to feel yourself. And every exhale removes that tension out and away from you. 2 minutes or 3 minutes of that every time when you sit down, so you're not bound by gravity, just so you're sitting down and relaxing your upper body and lower body. 3 breaths in, and you are having a wonderful, wonderful day, and you know it. Thank you for taking the courage, for having the courage of being here, of listening, of embracing, of taking in everything that is working and right for you, because you are here to create your own world and your own reality. Thank you, Penelope, for bringing your knowledge and your wisdom to today and to every day. And it is so lovely to see you, and it is so lovely to spend this time with you.
It is my pleasure. And before we say goodbye, just want to remind our listeners that they can send us their questions and even their topics for us to discuss on a future Spiritual Yada. And they can reach us at hello@spiritualyada.com.
Amen. I don't know why Amen is right here, but it's okay. It's Amen. You can send us your questions, anything that you have or you want to ask, any topic, anything. And Facebook is facebook.com/spiritualyada. And we will see you next week. I'm iLan Azulay.
I'm Penelope Jean Hayes.
And we're Spiritual Yada. This is Spiritual Yada. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Spiritual Yada with iLan Azulay
and Penelope Jean Hayes.